So, welcome along to Point Blank Music School. My name's Luke Hopper. I'm one of the members of the team here. And I'm joined today by Paul Crossman.
Hello.
Tutor and course developer for this week's edition of Friday Forum Live. Right, so for those that don't know, I'll just give you a bit of an explanation of what Friday Forum Live is. It's basically the chance for you guys at home to find out a bit more about what we do here at Point Blank and to ask any questions that you have directly. So you can speak to myself or Paul. If you want to talk about kind of point blank stuff about the courses, about what we do, then I'm more than happy to answer those questions. If you want to get into the technical stuff, then Paul's your man, definitely. Paul's here to give us a bit of a tutorial on sound design using Native Instruments Reaktor, after which he's also going to jump into a mix. So looking forward to that. Before we jump into the tutorial, I'll just give you guys a bit of a heads up on what's been going on really. So a couple of things. First thing that's probably worth pointing out is that we've got all the online courses, the full range, kicking off this Monday, September 3rd. So there are still a few places left. So what you can do is go over to the website, which I'll show you right now. If you head over to pointblankonline.net, you can check out all the courses on offer. Anything from the kind of full programs to the individual courses themselves, they're all beginning on Monday, and there's a few places left as far as I'm aware. So just click through to the course you're interested in, head to enroll now. And fill in the application form really. Also, we are currently running our sound design competition, which ties in nicely today. If you want to basically design the new sound for the Point Blank ident, the logo that comes up at the start of all of our videos, then get your submissions in. You can send them over to us and you can get the chance to get a full credit. It's a great thing for your portfolio, and you'll also win a free course if your sound is chosen. Right, and what else have we got? Also, the Beatport comp that we're doing with those guys is still up and running. Your chance to remix Mark Romboy, get an official release on the label, and again win a free course with us. Also, today is actually the last day that we've got the half-price DJ courses online. So you can head over to the website, click on courses. Then we've got DJ courses down here. So the Ableton Live DJ Performance course or the Serato course are both half price. If you book today, I think is the last day. So yeah, make sure you give us a call or drop us a line on the email, enroll@pointblankonline.net and sign up to save a huge 50% basically. What else have we got? Oh yeah, the degree courses. Again, A-level results are now out, so if you're looking for a kind of affordable degree level education that's really, really flexible, then make sure you check those out. Again, head to the courses page, and right here we've got degree level programs. Both of those, I think there's only kind of like 2 spaces on each left, so if you have got your heart set on one of those, then give us a call again or drop us an email. Right, what else have we got? Also the blog, so quite a few things going on this week. We've got, as always, the kind of student roundup, what's been going on. We've got the new podcast from Green Money. That's one of the tutors here, Alex Funzi. He's put together a podcast with his partner Leo. It's a wicked mix actually, so definitely go and check that out. And also on the YouTube channel, we've got the new masterclass from High Ranking, which we've just recently uploaded. Really good one. If you're into dubstep, it's definitely worth checking out. If you head over to the YouTube channel, and you can get involved there. Right, so make sure you get involved in the chat room, ask all your questions, and we'll try and answer them as we go. As I say, Paul's going to just jump into a tutorial now, so feel free to get involved, let us know where you're watching from, and get your shouts in. Right, so over to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Luke. All right, everybody, I hope you're all well out there. The whole point of me being here today really is to give you a bit of an overview into what Reaktor's capable of. I want to go through, look at a few of the kind of modules that are what they call ensembles that you can use. Lots and lots of potential for sound design in this program. Once we've gone through that, I want to kind of take a look at how you get some sounds recorded. You know, we can record audio in Reaktor, we can drop it into, say, Logic or Ableton. We can continue with the kind of sound design angle on there. So very, very flexible. And then towards the end of this, I want to kind of show you behind the scenes. We take a very brief look at how you can build your own synths and effects. Now, Reaktor is more than just sort of a pretty front end that produces sound. It's actually a kind of a programming language in some respects, which means that you can build and customize your own synthesizers. So it's a lot of depth, a lot that we can do in half an hour, 40 minutes or so. So let's get started with it. So what I've got up here at the moment is one of the groove boxes. Essentially, Reaktor at one level is a collection of different sound generating tools. So we have drum machines, we've got groove boxes, we've got samplers, we've got synthesizers, we've got effects. Anything that makes a noise or you can pass a noise through it, Reaktor can kind of do. And this is actually one of my favorites. It's called New School. And it's sort of multicolored interface that we've got here. And what this really is two separate things. On the top here, we've got a sequencer, very unusual sequencer. And in the bottom part, what we've actually got is a drum synthesizer. Okay, so if I go and hit play on here, you can see up the top that we've got BPM. I'm using this thing standalone at the moment. I hit play, and it makes a sound. Now, what we've got here is a sound generator down below, which is producing a lot of the noises that you're hearing. And at the top, the sequence is being generated by this pattern. So, what I can do is draw in the left-hand side, and then that gets translated into a different sequence. Now, in all honesty, not entirely sure how it does what it does on this one, but it does it really, really well. You know, the one thing I like about this as a program is it encourages you to experiment. Do you know what I mean? It's not your standard sequencer, okay? And then underneath here, what we're looking at is a sound generator. So those of you out there that like your percussion on the techie side, that like your kind of, I was going to say minimalist type sounds, this is a great one. And what we've got here is two sides to this. So by, say, changing the decays, you can get a nice little sort of blippy, tribally kind of percussion sound going on here. I can play around with the pitch. Now, this is all very well and good in standalone, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to concentrate on this one for a little while, and then we'll kind of take a little bit of a tour around. Now, I want to be able to record this, and you can use Reaktor as a plugin within all the sequencers, Logic, Ableton, Cubase, you know, all those things. It will work like that, but in standalone mode, it's a slightly different way of thinking. Now, at the top here, I've actually got the ability to record the audio output, so I'm going to stop this for a minute. And up here you can see that we've got like a recording box. Now I've already set one up, and I've got this Reaktor recording 1. And let me just bring this in again. So Reaktor recording 1. Now what this is going to do, I'm going to hit the record button and then play. Now what's going to happen, when I hit play, it's now going to record this directly to an audio file. Okay? Now I know that I've got the BPM locked at 126. So as I make changes, and the one thing I've said about Reaktor as a program, if you want nicely recorded pianos, it's really the place to go, you know what I mean? If you're looking for kind of orchestral sounds, probably not the one. You want the weird, you want the wonderful, and this is the place to go. So, let me just make a few changes. You know, you can sit here for hours doing this, but we don't really have that kind of time. So, make a few. Let's do something like this for now. Get some nice percussive hits out. Okay, that's cool. So now, let's just bring the level of this down a little bit. That's probably going to distort it, but that doesn't really matter. Now, let me stop that for a second, and let's stop. Now, what I've done here, let's just drag this out of the way, is it's now created an audio file. So let me just bring this audio file in, and you'll see, I've done it right, that it's recorded, there we go. So we've now got the audio recorded into a file. So what I can do is I can bring up a sequencer. So I'm going to use Logic Pro for this example. Like I said, obviously it's now audio. You can use it in any kind of sequencing that you want. So let me just bring this up, and I'm just going to create a new one.
While you do that, Paul, let me I'll just give a couple of shout outs to the guys watching at home. We've got some good ones. Lee Pickett, you might remember.
Hey Lee, how are you, mate?
Yeah.
How's it all going out there, man?
He says good to hear from you again. He loved the minimal course.
Good.
So yeah, we've got shout outs. Robert Marks from Australia. I think he watching last time. Chasm Productions from New Zealand. Mystery D&B from Cape Town. The Driver Brothers from Glamorous Essex. We've got one from Mark from your old stomping ground, Paul, in Bristol. What else have we got? Let's have a look. Serbia, Australia, Pablo from India. Yes, so people locked in from all over the world, always good to see. A quick one here from Guthia, who's asked where can he request topics to see on Friday Forum. To be honest, you can just drop us a line. I mean, if you're really looking to see something, good place to get involved is maybe on the Facebook, facebook.com/point blank. You can find us there and drop us a line. You could always drop us an email, hit us up at advice@pointblanklondon.com, or just give us a bell. You know, there's loads of places. Always put a comment on the YouTube channel is always good as well. So if there's anything particular you want to see, let us know, and we'll try and get it locked in for the next one. Right, so yeah, keep your questions coming in. Anything on the technical side or on the more general stuff, and we'll get back into it with Paul.
Fantastic. Now what I've done is I've taken that audio that I've recorded and I've put it into Logic. Now, because we have the tempo set at 126 in Reaktor, if I set the tempo at 126 in Logic, then the file I've just recorded is going to be perfectly in sync. So what this means is, from a sampling point of view, I can just say take up a couple of bars and I can go through. I'm quite liking that one. Let's take up another one. Same sort of thing maybe. So what I can then do is I can cut sections out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another channel underneath, and the ones that I like, I'm just going to pull them out. Just tell you what, let me get rid of the scissors. Like this. So, and this is the thing with Reaktor, one of the ways that I'll use it is literally as a sample source. You know, coming up with different sounds. Let's try further in. Okay, let's get a bit mental over here. We like a bit of that. Okay, so I'm going to just pull a couple out. Okay, with that, we could almost kind of hear a kind of riff creeping in with that. So I'm just going to pull the couple out, and we can mute that out. Now let's go back to this first one, because what I can now do, and this is a Logic specific thing, I'm in Ableton, for example, I know that you can do this by essentially slicing to MIDI, but I can use flex. So what I can do is I can flex this up. Now, once I've done that, then this is now locked to tempo. So let's just take this first one. 126, 140, popular tempo out there, I reckon.
Yeah.
Right, and it's actually moving with the tempo. So, don't leave your drum and bass guys out. 175, and we're all locked in. See what I mean? Right, so yeah, okay, we'll slow that one down a bit. I think people are starting to breathe a bit too heavy in here. So let's just take this now, and then what I can then do, right click, and then I can go to, where are we? Convert it essentially to a new MIDI track. So let me just find out, where is it? Convert, there it is, convert to a new sampler track. So do this by transients, and what I'm actually creating now is a MIDI version. So once I've got it as a MIDI version, then let me just go in, let me bring this up. What it's done is it's sliced that all up into MIDI, and we can go in and create different rhythms of it. See what I mean? So it's a really, really cool way of coming up with a load of sounds very, very quickly, building up a sample library, and then whenever you approach your arrangements again, you've got a whole bunch of stuff you can get to. Because you know what it's like, it's really difficult to, when you're sitting in front of a blank sequencer, to come up with ideas sometimes. So something like Reaktor can be really, really useful in just building up gigabytes of just sounds.
Is it something that you would just sit there all day making noises and then put them away?
That's like sun goes down, sun goes up, sun goes down, sun goes up, do you know what I mean? And you kind of, yeah, you know, you spend a couple of evenings just not thinking about arrangement, not thinking about, you know, like sort of horizontal Tetris.
Not that I have to build a track.
Exactly,
Yeah,
no, exactly that. And I think that that's really, really important, because I think that if you don't have those sounds, then it can be really, really difficult sometimes. You know, watching that loop go round for days on end,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean,
So,
even that right there kind of sparks inspiration.
yeah, absolutely.
Quickly.
Exactly that. So hang on a second, and we've got a password coming in. Okay, no looking at the keyboard, everyone. Right. So that's kind of an example of how I'd probably go about using it very, very quickly. Now let's go back into Reaktor, and I want to just have a quick tour around, because I've kind of said that this is... Right, who are you? Oh, it's you, innit? Right, I kind of sort of said that, you know, Reaktor is kind of a lot of different things, and at the moment we're using it as a kind of a sequence drum machine. So let me go around and have a look. Now we've got synthesizers. Because of the fact that this is a building tool in a way, you can kind of do any kind of synthesis that you particularly want to. So here's a good one for all you bass heads out here. We've got laser bass. Let me just switch them in a minute. Which gives me a whole bunch of really, really, really funky bass sounds. Let me just bring that up a bit. It's not sounding like a swamp. You know, so this is now a synthesizer, which we can then control. Now this is based on additive synthesis, so subtractive analog synthesis you may have come across. We've got something like additive, a different way of doing things comes up with a different sound. So from here we can go to something like steam pipe. Steam pipe's what's known as physical modelling. So the idea is you're modelling real sounds in a way. So we get a kind of a very, for those of you out there that are into your new age, you know, we can overblow like you would expect a real flute to react, which is quite cool. And this has got an arpeggiator built into it, okay? Now, we can go through, and I'm just going to take out a few more of my sort of favourite ones. You know, we go from that to the absolute mental, like the metaphysical function. Look, no hands. It just makes sounds, do you know what I mean? But what we can do with this is, again, use it as a sound source. So, go through some of the presets maybe. There's this theme of snod, which is quite cute. You know, now this is a sound, for example, give you kind of how radical this can be. In the bottom left-hand corner here, this is actually being generated from a sample. So if I double-click on this waveform, double-click on the waveform, oh, they've changed it here, haven't they? So what I need to do then is go into structure mode and then double-click on the waveform. Okay, down the bottom here, essentially what we've got is a table of samples. So we've loaded audio in, right? Now this one here, number 60, so if I call this up in the sample map, there it is. So, and this is what the original sound is. Right? So it's pretty extreme in a lot of respects. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to know what it does. That's quite what I like about it. It does kind of encourage you to poke it a bit, you know, and occasionally it'll blow your speakers, but that's all right, you know. Sort of turn that up, and then we've got lots of different kind of examples, like, you know, those into your hip hop out there. You know, what we've got here essentially is the same drum loop being played through this reso chord. A reso chord is a kind of form of resonator. You know, and I can change it. So go for sort of Friday afternoon jazz, please. Do you know what I mean? You know? And once we've done that, let's go and have a look at something else. We've got, where is it? Let's go for photo. So once again, now we're into a different form of synthesis. We've got another synthesizer here, right? Now this is your, you know, liquid drum and bass. You know, we're fully sorted for that as well. You know, and each of these has then got presets. So, you know, let's call up that. So, one of the things about Reaktor is you can use it at a lot of different levels. If you just want it to be a collection of synths and sequencers and bonky devices, then that's absolutely possible. But you can go a lot deeper than that. So if I go around the back, if you imagine that this is the kind of the front panel, like the machine, if you can see that, you know, you've kind of got like controls, you can move it. Now, if I click around the back here, it's a bit like unscrewing the lid, right? And you can see all the circuits, right? And you get, it's all attached by wires, see? Now, I'm not for a moment going to suggest that I'm going, oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on here, but I can go inside here and like I say, you can build these things from the ground up, right? So
it's probably worth saying as well that is something you do on the sound design course.
It is absolutely, very, very much so. In fact, I brought along an example of how you can build, right? So essentially what you've got here is you can see as you go in that you've got these components. So it's like going to whatever your local Maplin is, your electronics shop, and buying a bunch of components, soldering them into a board, So the real uber geeks of you out there, you know what I mean? There is a way of uber geeking with it. Do you know what I mean? And what I've done is I've kind of brought along a kind of an example of one of the things we do on the sound design course, where we look to build this stuff, okay? And it doesn't have to be as complicated as that looks. And what I've done is I'm starting now with a completely blank instrument here. And what I'm going to do with this is essentially build up an oscillator. So an oscillator is something that produces sound, obviously. It can be a square wave, it can be a sawtooth. These things you've probably heard about in terms of things that make noises. Everybody knows square waves, sine waves, good for sub bass, that kind of thing. Okay, and once I've done that, we'll then look at kind of a couple of easier ways of doing it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off, let me just switch this off for a minute, and I'm going to start off by bringing up a sawtooth, okay? Very basic waveform that I'm going to connect to an output, and essentially what I'm going to do is collect up a couple of different MIDI inputs, so note, pitch and gate. So any of you that have had experience or have heard like modular synthesizers, those big walls of, I think there's a sort of Dead Mouse one out there, isn't there?
There is, there's a famous one.
There is, where he shows you what you can do if you've got money.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he's got like a room full of things. Well, that analog modular synthesizers, kind of a similar idea here, but without the budget, right? So if I connect these two things up, then if I switch this back in again, what it's going to do is give me, we've got a sawtooth added in, for example. Now, what I can do with this is I can then go in and add, let's add a triangle wave, let's add a, where are we, oscillators? Let's add a sine wave, and just for completion for this, I'm then going to go and add myself a pulse wave. And what you can see here is different waveforms, okay? And what I would do is I would connect all of these up. I can then add a switch. Now what that switch does is enable me to connect each of these up, and I'm building an oscillator. So quickly connect those in and connect those to the output like this. All right, and then I would wire all of these up like that, and wire all the gates up. So one there, and one there, and then one there. And I'm just going to add a control. And what happens is the panel, as I said, explained, is the front end to this. So if I just split this up, what you can then see down the bottom here is essentially my oscillator. Not the most exciting looking thing in the world, but it makes a sound, and that's kind of why we're here, isn't it? So just let me change these up. So we've got saw, triangle, sine, and pulse. Okay. Now, essentially what that means is that when I bring this back in again there, I can then switch between them. And the pulse wave, we've got a pulse width control, all right? So if I was designing something from the ground up, what I'd end up doing is I'd end up building one of these up, and then, one oscillator is never enough for anyone, isn't it? You want 15 of them, with, the massive kind of stuff. So the thing is that at this level you can build them, and again, in the sound design course, this is something that we really get into. But there's something else called macros. Now I'm going to just delete everything I've just done. Once you've built something like that, rather than having to build it again and again and again and again, what you can do is you can actually then stick it in a box. right? So what we've done, this is True Blue Peter style, here's one I did earlier on.
One I made
Do you know what I mean?
earlier.
That what we've got now is we've got what you saw there, but I've added another couple of sections. So if I then bring in the pitch and the gate again, so let me just bring in the MIDI in and the gate again. If I wire these up, gate, pitch, okay, what we've then got there is you can see the saw. Right, yeah, and that's pitching. Okay, so what I need to do with that is just to sort something out here, which is to get the pitching of it all right. Like that. And then I need to just sort out. And what I'm doing here is each of these knobs on here, you've got complete customizability on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up with a, you know, a full range for, you know, there we go. And the default will set to 0. Step size will set to 0.01. So what we've done, come back, is we've now got a pitch control and we've now got fine. Now the thing is, if I don't like the knobs, then I can change it to faders. You know, so you've got the full range of being able to customize with it. You can also, if anybody's seen Reaktor before, they do one called Razor, which is absolutely fabulous instrument. That it's got a custom front pedal, so you can go into a graphics editing program and you can make up your front end, right? Which is really, really cool. Okay, now, it is about music though, do you know what I mean? Yeah, we're not heading off into the realms of something else. Now, what I can do here is very, very easily build myself a synth. So using the macros, I can then, let's bring in, say, where's my filter? So I'm going to bring a filter now, and I'm going to wire that in. And you can see that as I do this, the panel down here is growing. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to make a custom 2 oscillator synth, keep it kind of nice and simple, right? And let me just connect the output up to that. Okay, fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Right, there we go. And I'm going to bring in a little mixer. What shall I use? What shall I use? And I'll just do it like this. So I'm going to get in a little mixer from the signal path here, and I'm going to wire this up, and just going to create a sort of a little 2 oscillator synthesizer. Okay, and what I'm going to do is normally you find that macros are, there's normally a macro that will do the job. So you don't have to spend a lot of time building stuff. Pitch and gate, here we go. So the thing is with using 2 oscillators is the fact that we then get the ability to do things like pitching. So let's just move this oscillator down. So for example, let's just go down a couple of octaves, and we can do sort of respacing style stuff with it. And then I can then bring the filter in. We get very, very simple sort of analog subtractive synthesis sounds. Okay, and then we've also got the ability then to pitch stuff. So it's very easy then to create, you know, kind of stabby sounds. You know, and then you've got also the kind of that warm feeling of building the thing that you're making the sound with. Now I can keep going with this. What I can add with it is, say, a couple of envelopes. So I can use kind of the macros here. So let me just add one of these in, and I'm going to essentially create a couple of different envelopes so that I can now control the sound. So here we go. So let's create that up to there, like that, and connect you to there, and then. So those of you that like Lego, think of it like that, right? It's audio Lego, if it's kind of a way of putting it. So let me just do that and that. Now what that gives me, if I go around to my panel again, is a couple of things. And I've got here a couple of envelopes. So the envelopes enable you to control parameters over time. So work out which is which. There we go. a bit. Let's get the level down a bit so we can get, you know. And then we've also got here a filter envelope. So we come up with all those sort of sounds. Now, the other thing with the Reaktor as well is that here's my synth that I've just sort of knocked up. I'm going to call it my synth. Now, we also have access to, I even spelt it right, brilliant. So, we also have access then to lots of other different kind of modules that we can use.
We've got a couple of questions,
yeah.
Paul, quickly. There's a couple of guys here, Lee Pickett, as well as Stephen Hogarth, have asked about dubstep bass, the infamous wobble.
The infamous wobble, absolutely. I mean, the thing with it is that if you take a very simple dubstep bass, the kind of the synced wobble, for example, a lot of that's on the filter. Now, what I can do with this is essentially, I don't know if you can make out here, but I've got an LFO input on this. So all I have to then do is I can then pull up a, where are we? There we go. I've got an LFO to filter module here. Here's one I did earlier, right? Now, let me just bring this in. I need to make a couple of adjustments to this, like that. Right, so let me just go back, and what we'll do for this then is we'll get that filter out. And we'll go for a couple of, let's go for right basses. Come back, all is forgiven. Right, and then, we need something playing. So, we can do it like this. We could go for a, let's have a look, 32 divided by 3. That's what I want. So we can kind of get the wobble up using, essentially it's LFO to filter. So we can do that. Now, we do have access, if you know what you're doing with this, and this is the beauty of it, I could actually then get up something like, where is it? Macros, building blocks, LFOs, etc. Might be under classic modular. That there is actually, where is it? You can get multi-break stage envelopes. So the technology in Reaktor is essentially everything you get in all the other NI stuff. So you know Absynth, which is kind of a quite intense sound design program. You know, it's the same idea. A lot of the stuff that came from it, the engine of it, you find this is kind of like the DNA of this is in every single one of the products. Yeah. So if you kind of know what you're doing, then you know creating any sound is kind of possible with this.
Hence sound design.
Hence sound design. Absolutely that. Yeah. Or non-preset.
We've got another. Yeah. We've got another question. Someone's asked. Wolf Pyroman has asked about granular synthesis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you talk us through that slide?
I certainly could. As in, well, there's a couple of things. Granular synthesis. I'm just going to quickly save this one up. Essentially involves taking an audio sound and then chopping it into tiny, tiny segments, and then giving yourself parameter control over the tiny segments. Okay. So there's a couple of quite good examples of that in here. For example, let me just bring up one of the classics. Grain states. Now this is a program. Let me just. Off we go. Let me just stop that a minute. Now, this one here, for example, let me just bring you the sound. The actual sound is this. Okay, so what we've got is an audio loop. Now, what we have here is the sound is being played, and if I just press play for it, stop it, what we've got is a loop brace. Now, what it's doing is it's cycling around a section of audio. And then it's using a kind of an LFO movement to move it through based on what each one of these individual bands, I suppose you want to call it. And you've got delays on here, there's a few other things, a 2-band delay. So we can do that. Now I can then change, if I wanted to, change the audio sound. Now there's another one here called Travelizer, which, similar sort of idea. What we've got is a little vocal here.
Travelizer.
And what this is doing, again, you can see the loop brace moving through. And I've got the ability to control where that moves to. Now at the moment we've got this resonator, which enables us then to kind of change the grain size. And we can then sort of do things like change, there we go. You can kind of hear it a little bit better there. It almost sounds like a delay now because you've stretched out the grain, sort of the grain lengths. Okay. Let's bring that back out again. And I kind of what I do like about this is that there's a degree of unpredictability with it. You know, even if you kind of know what you're doing with it, sometimes it just does things to surprise you, like now where it's not making any sound at all. There we go. Okay, and we can do change the sound, get some sort of pretty crazy stuff out of it. Now I change it to a church bell. There we go. And get that kind of effect. So, you know, coming up sort of dark pads, you know, it's no problem at all.
Just textures, I guess.
Yeah, it is kind of, there's a lot. Hold on a second. I think we've opened up a portal to hell. I'll be back in a minute, hang on. There we go. Let me just bring that back. So yeah, I mean, it kind of excels at textures, but at the same time, you know, you've also got the ability then to go in and, for example, let me bring this down because this does sort of spit out a bit of level, this one. You know, what we've got here is a, you know, kind of different sequencer that's essentially each one of these steps is a cut up beat that is cut up, and it's now playing round, and I can sort of, by messing around with this, all of you techno heads out there, good fun for that. But I've also then got a whole bunch of different controls like FM, like EQs and distortions, and then there's also in here somewhere. Where is it? This again is cutting it up, so you've got access to the grain size. So again, you know, record this out. You know, sit there and record it.
On that, we've got a question from someone from Chasm Productions who's asked, he's like an EDM producer who makes like progressive house and trance. He's asked, but bearing in mind that Reaktor is so versatile and pretty much endless, is it like for him a practical thing to invest in? Is he going to make use of it? You know, I guess. I
suppose that's kind of a question only you can answer, really.
Yeah, you've got to dive in, I guess.
I mean, the thing is, what they've done with this, I don't want this to turn into a sort of sales pitch for it, but I mean, you know, there's been a range of premium instruments that have been created by people who really know what they're doing. And things like Razor, for example, as I've said before, it's an awesome synth. Really is, you know, for a lot of different styles. There's other things in there like Prism, which is more of a modal synthesis, which is, it's kind of, you can do a lot of kind of, I was going to say bell-like sounds, but that kind of doesn't make it kind of sound as cool as it actually is, if you see what I mean. So, I mean, if you think of it in terms of a production suite of sounds, then yeah, I mean, it's got everything you need in a way.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you how far you want to go. The other thing is there is a user community out there of people who really like building this stuff. So if you can't build or don't want to build it, there are people out there that do, you know, and you know, you go into the user library every week, there's new stuff all the time. I just find it, I think for me it's a kind of an inspirational thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just fires the imagination up enough to be able to want to go and then get on with making sounds rather than...
I think it does free you up as well slightly, you know, you're not stuck in that arrangement window from you know, Logic or Ableton or whatever, and you're just kind of experimenting a bit more, and maybe it's, you know, spark some of that creativity.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is as well is you could spend 6 hours with it and get nothing.
Yeah.
You know, let's be realistic about this. You know what I mean?
Very true.
But you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, one of the things I suppose for me about music is about that thing of something that just triggers you to go, oh wow, that's going to be brilliant. You know, and rather than just sitting, like you say, in front of an arrangement window.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, something like this. I mean, a lot of it. Oh, hello. A lot of the sort of sounds that you do make from it are fairly esoteric, and they are fairly strange, but everybody in here has now started nodding, so I mean, that's, you know, generally a good sign. You know, and again, you know, if I like this, then what I can do is go, oops, choose a direction. Right. Let's take that out, I like that. Right, now bouncing it to audio again, so. Right, and that's the thing, now I've done that, let's save it. Now, there are other things in here in terms of synths. Let's have a look what we've got in here. There's a really cool one in here as well. That, you know, obviously while I'm talking, this is still recording, so I can still do stuff. And where is it, under new additions, under synthesizers, the subharmonic, which is quite an unusual little synth, this. And what you've got is you've got 4 oscillators which you can tune. So, you know, it does do pretty stuff as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right, I think we've got, we're kind of running slightly to the end of the tutorial section.
Okay.
Let's just quickly run through, see if we've got any questions. We've got, Mark has asked about loading your own samples.
Absolutely. I mean, the way that you do that is by use of the sample map. So if I go back to, let's go back to Travelizer, for example. And bear with me 1 second. So, where are we? Sample transformers, Travelizer. Now let's just take that bit of stuff that I just created. What you would do is you would bring up the sample map down the bottom here, go to edit and add, and then I can just drag in my bass thing there. I just need to briefly give it a number, like that. And then once I've done that, then I can just dial it in. So there we go. So that's now brought in that sample. And it's just created weirdness, frankly. But yeah, it's very easy to do. So for example, another way of using this is if you're remixing. You know, take the vocal from a remix, stuff it into this, and you can create anything that you want. You could come up with some really cool percussion. You know, it's the uniqueness of what you get out that I like. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it, you know, sounds like that. It makes you stand out from the crowd. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. So, I think while we get Paul set up behind the decks, Paul's going to jump into a mix for us. I'll just run through a couple of things on the blog. So yeah, if you head over to the blog, you can get to it through the homepage through pointblankonline.net. You can see what we've got up. So this week you can check out, as I said, the podcast from before. There's also a really good article that we've just put up about female DJs and the DJ Mag Top 100. So yeah, it's all about the fact that at the moment there does seem to be a bit of a lack of DJs represented. So another really good thing to do is get involved in the comments. You can have your say on why female DJs aren't represented, really. So check that out. Head over to the blog. Also, to keep up to date with all the news, make sure you help our Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/pointblankcollege. On there, you'll get all the updates from our videos. You'll get to see kind of all the giveaways that we do, all the opportunities to get involved, really. So yeah, I think that's probably about wrapped it up for us. As always, keep your questions coming. Get involved on the YouTube videos, on the chat room. And if you do have any questions, drop us a line at advice@pointblankonline.net or advice@pointblanklondon.com. And if you do want to book a course, just head over to the website, and you can even give us a bell. Just give us a call on 0207 729 4884. Right, so yeah, that's it from us. Let's get into a mix from Paul. Yeah, take it away, mate.
Oh yeah!
got the moves, got the money, got the groove, got the game, got the inject, got the system, got the system. Got the taste, got the sex, got the leech, got the medicine, got the guy, got the girl, got the system, got the system. Got the hope, got the hate, got the lies, got the yoke, got the whip, got the system, got the system. Got the camera, got the zinc, teenage girls, got the taste, got the sex, got the system, got the system. Got the hope.